Hello, this is Sixpenny Memories, and today what we are going to do is have a look at the walking foot. The walking foot is also known as the dual duty foot, and it allows you to go through thicknesses of the fabric, and it feeds through evenly. It's an even feed foot. So can you see here, this is the foot off the machine, and this crab's claws, I call it, is what will go around your needle bar. And then if I turn this around here, then this part here is the part that actually goes onto where the ankle is. Now what I mean by that is your normal sewing machine feet are held on with this is the ankle here, if you can see it, and on this is a brother one, and what you do is you press that button on the back and then this pops off the foot. You need to take this off to put your walking foot on, and what I would advise you to do is to always pop it onto any foot, because it's much easier it's harder to lose this part rather than lose this ankle part. Okay, so what I've done is I've set up my sewing machine, and when I've set up my sewing machine, I've done a couple of things. One is I have set the sewing machine length to 3, and the other thing I've done is I have set the needle to be in the centre. Now I'm going to take you over. I've got one of these new tripods that should not make you feel too ill. So can you see there? This is the regular setting here, which is the width, so that's the needle position. So at this moment in time, my needle is smack bang in the centre of the needle bed. Now the width of your needle, or the width of your stitches, the maximum is 7mm. So to get the needle in the position in the centre, it would be 3.5. If you need to alter it, you would just do your buttons here. Now can you see that my factory setting is 2.5, and this is the stitch length, and I'm going to increase that up to 3. Depending on your machine, increase that up to 3, 3.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you around the sewing machine here. So can you see, there is the foot on. Just trying to get the right angle here, and the claw, it's very difficult, is grasping the needle. Can you see that there? So the white part of that claw is over the needle bar. So I'm just going to bring you back up here. Now a few things that are going to help you with your walking foot are your needles. You could use a quilting needle, and you know, I quite recommend a quilting needle. A quilting needle comes in 2 sizes. Bring it in here, and although this box is nearly empty, they come in a 75 or a 90, or an old money 75 is a 75 is an 11, so but you can have 75 or 90, and that's the width. So the smaller the number, the smaller the needle, the larger the number, the bigger the needle. Now what I've done is I've then popped this onto my sewing machine. You've seen me set up the needle length, the needle position, and I've also got my floating mat. Now the floating mat, or the it's like a slider mat, it's more often used when you're doing free motion quilting. But what I do find is that if I pop it, if I show you here, and I'll just pop it underneath the bed there, onto the front of the machine, and I have got my extension table on, and again, if you've got one, always try and use it, because it just means that your quilt isn't going to drop off the side of the machine. And it just, what you're trying to do is to make sure that it's evenly distributed. So if you're working with a great big quilt, then what I do suggest you do is even put some books behind, put an ironing board behind. Just make sure that your quilt hasn't fallen off the front or the back of the table, because what happens then is the machine cannot bring the quilt up, and your stitches will appear to be short, and people say to me, my quilting stitches are too short, or they're not even, and that's quite simply because you have not allowed the quilt to evenly go through. It needs to be able to come through. So what I'm doing, if you want to bring the thread up to the top of your quilt, it's quite simple. Just lower the presser foot, and I'm just checking that you can see that there, lovely. And then hold this top thread in your hand, If you lower the needle down, and then if you bring the needle back up, so whether you do that by your hand wheel, that hasn't worked, so let's just see if it wants to play. Yeah, so you can barely see it, but my thread has come up to the top. This machine hasn't brought it right up, but the thread is at the top, so it means that I don't have to have a knot on the back of my quilt. So what I'm going to do is lower the presser foot again. Now with it evenly feeds. With a walking foot, it sort of crawls across your fabric, and I just want you to see the motion. I'm actually putting my quilting gloves on. The quilting gloves just give you a little bit of grip here. Can you see the bobbly bits on the end? It's just I find that when I'm dealing with large pieces of fabric, whether that be by say putting the binding on, or whether I'm quilting, I just find that quite often I really want to be able to grip the fabric nicely. So I've got the needle in the down position, and if you've got a machine that can do that, that's great. And then all I'm going to do is, once I've found the foot, because it's escaped from me, is I'm going to bring it forward. So can you see how this part of the foot is moving, and it literally just crawls along? And you don't have to go slow, but what you need to do is just work out where you want to stop. I've stopped it in that position there, and I'm going to pivot round. Actually, I put the pivot on my machine. So to pivot round, I'll just raise the presser foot and then move it around like that, and then I can carry on stitching. And what this will do is it'll stop any puckering. Now the stitches that you can do with a walking foot are only stitches that will move forwards. And what I mean by that are your straight stitches obviously only ever moves towards you. Any stitch that will go backwards, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples in a second, a walking foot will not work. It will only work successfully when I've got another stitch in there, when the stitch is moving forward. So if you have a stitch that is a flower, or some of these decorative stitches that you think, oh, I'd like to use my walking foot, you need to check with each of the stitches how are they actually formed. And the easiest way to do that is to get your hand wheel and just turn it and just see whether the needle comes backwards and forwards. So remember, if it goes backwards, the walking foot just will not be successful. What you will find, because it's evenly feeding the top and the bottom of the fabric evenly through the sewing machine, that your quilting will be lovely and flat, and you won't have any puckering to worry about. We're just nearly there. And if you can turn that round again, and I'm just going to bring this one across to here, bring that up, and I should marry up here. Okay, and then I'll just I'm going to raise the presser foot, and what I'm going to do is raise my needle as well and raise the presser foot, and I'm going to pull the threads away, because what I want to do is to be able to tie these threads in. So if I just get my scissors there, and I'll quickly cut those off. So what I want to show you is, can you see, if I come back behind the camera, you don't need to see my face today, can you see how lovely these stitches are on the front there? And can you see on the back, I'm hoping you're going to be able to see it, that you've got no puckering whatsoever, and that the quilt is lying nice and flat. And can you see you've got your stitches there on the bottom? So I've used a white thread on the bottom and a mint green on the top. The walking foot is invaluable. The cost wise is about the £39 mark, just depending on the on your make of your sewing machine. I really would advise you to use it. It's great in dressmaking, if you're working with jersey, if you're working with any sort of thicker fabrics, curtain fabrics, or obviously your quilting. So I do hope that helps you a little bit. So don't forget, this is your walking foot. And if you want to know any more information, then you can contact me at Sixpenny Memories. I'll just give you the details here. And every Tuesday at 6 p.m. we do, there you are, we do a Facebook Live, and we also go through lots of bits and pieces. Hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.